from Sullivan Ulster. He and his fabulous team, Ingrid, Susan, Frank, and everybody else, helped to put all the logistics of today together. And I'm going to ask Mitch to stand up and just say a few words. And then there's 2 other organizations that have to thank, and then we will go to our event. And today is a special occasion because we actually have a 2-part event. So I will tell you about the 2-part event after Mitch. So, Mitch.
Hi everyone, and thanks for coming out. It's great to see a large crowd, and it's also really great to see a crowd where I look out across my audience and I don't see entrepreneurs who are my daughter's age and younger. So I'm glad to see that there's hope for us all. Just a bit about our firm. We are a local firm, a national firm, and an international firm. We've got offices all around the world, London, Tel Aviv, Boston, which is our headquarters, New York, and DC. I'm a partner in the intellectual property group, so trademarks, copyrights, anything to do with data privacy, that's my area. But we're a full service firm, and we like and focus on developing relations with startups, entrepreneurs, people who have vision and ideas and need a little help. That's our sweet spot. We have people who can help take you all the way to public offerings. We have people who can help you with your vendor contracts. We have people who can help you with your wills. We can do everything but the will. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Mitch. So I connected earlier today that you look for SW Connect, and the password is SW Connect. So also, it's very important that I make sure you know the men's room is out there, and the ladies' room is outside in the hallways.
By the elevators.
By the elevators, all right, just in case. All right, so we have a second sponsor who helped get the word out. We want to recognize them. And I'm going to ask Marianne Lewis to come up and explain about the Radical Age movement. Marianne?
Well, as you know, my name is Marianne Lewis, and usually our founder, Alice Fisher, would be doing this. So I think she just could not make it tonight as much as she wanted to, but she put out the word, and our whole organization did. And so I guess it's time that the others of us learn how to do this. So the Radical Age movement is now it's a growing movement, and we're focusing on, well, it's a grassroots effort, and it's challenging the image of ageism. We're focusing a lot in the workplace, prejudice in the workplace around ageism, but we're focusing on every area, cultural area that there is, and we have an intergenerational. I'm on the intergenerational committee, so we meet with, I meet with junior high school, and college kids also, because they have issues around ageism. So with that, we have already held 2 forums on this subject about financial stability for older people. And one was just in May. We had New York City Council member Margaret Chin. She facilitated a public hearing at the City Hall, which was very exciting. And I have to say, even though our organization is very serious, we do have fun also. So I want to emphasize that, anybody wanting to join in. So that was in September, and now in May is going to be our first rally at Union Square. We're going to have speakers and signs, and we're going to have people come and really talk about the Radical Age movement. We already have other chapters growing that we've established. We want them to keep growing because we're a national organization at this time.
So if any of you want to join the Radical Age movement, you can see Miriam afterwards. And just so you know, I'm actually we don't have cards, but I would be a card-carrying member of the Radical Age movement if they had cards. So we have a second sponsor who has also helped us, and I want to ask Mike Smith to talk about the Experience Professional Agency, because they also have a very unique take on entrepreneurs and potential partners and employees.
Great, thank you, Betty. So I'm Mike Smith, and great, I've met some of you here before, and I'm one of these encore entrepreneurs. So I had so my passion though is I really want to see that experienced people find continued engagement, particularly with business. And so my idea, and the thing I've started, is I'm building a platform and a company that connects experienced people with early stage companies that need that deep experience to act as advisors, mentors, coaches, consultants, and employees. And really to create a win-win situation where early stage companies, 80% of those fail, increase the chance that those companies succeed. At the same time, find or enable experienced people to find engagement with business that's truly enjoyable for them and rewarding for them. It's a win-win situation, so that's what I'm about. I'm really, really happy I met Betty and the team here. I think this group, Stage2Startups, and the events it puts on is a great companion to this, because I think the other side of this is training opportunities, networking, and other events. So I really, really see that's important. But what I'm doing is actually create a platform to actually connect people and to do it at scale and to do it as a business. So I'm pleased that I was able to help out tonight, and happy to meet anybody to talk about what I'm doing and anyone wants to get involved.
Thank you, Mike. So I'm actually, I think I joined his organization too. I guess I'm just one of those joiners. So just so you know, I didn't mention what Stage 2 does. So Stage2Startups is actually trying to do its own movement, and it's a movement to help grown-ups become entrepreneurs. So hence, Startups by Grownups. We have a kind of a, we're actually known for these transition panels where we actually bring people who have been in some other environment earlier in their career, and then they become great entrepreneurs in their second life, and or third life, or fourth life, or Joyce will tell me to keep going. So anyway, Stage 2 is about helping people to become entrepreneurs and helping people to succeed as entrepreneurs, and we really are so happy to see you here. Tonight, we also have a special second part of today's event, which is a structured networking event, and I'm carrying this piece of paper around because some of the special people responded to one of the 5 different follow-up surveys that I sent to them to ask them who they would like to talk to, whether it's a co-founder or an advisor or a potential employer, or if they want to be an employee or whatever. And if you would like to participate in structured networking, we ask that you actually come to our December 6th event, which is next Thursday, and you'll all get a reminder email after tonight to ask you to sign up. So if you're interested in doing that and participating in any way, please come. We are going to be serving wine at that event. So as an extra, holiday, in an extra holiday spirit.
Is that a younger group or what?
No, I don't know. It's whoever shows up, Joyce. So today we actually have a very special panel. Not only are some of them like very dear friends of mine, but also we have a very, very special guest who's our moderator, Judy Messina, who is a senior fellow from the Center for an Urban Future. And she and her team wrote this amazing, interesting, eye-catching, revolutionary, and it's never been done before report.
Thank you, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here tonight to talk about our report, but also to give you examples of people who are doing it. Briefly, let me just give you some of the conclusions and quite interesting things that we found in doing the report. Not because I'm advertising it, because it's a good backdrop to what we're going to discuss tonight with these panelists. I think the first, probably the most startling thing we found, although of course we expected it because we did the report, we suspected this was going on, is there's been a 19% increase in the past 10 years of entrepreneurs in New York City who are over the age of 50. Now clearly, some of those people started businesses at younger ages and then just reached the age of 50 and are older now. But a very large chunk of those are also people who started businesses at the age of 50. And that number is still growing. It's in every neighborhood, every borough, and significantly in many immigrant neighborhoods. And it's true nationally as well. The largest increase in entrepreneurship nationwide is among people who are 45 to 54 years old, according to the Kauffman Foundation, which studies entrepreneurship. People at this stage in their life, we call it midlife, some people call them seniors, I call it midlife, start businesses largely for two reasons. What we call it was push and pull. The push is many people lost jobs, especially in the recession. And at the age of 50 or older, it's tough to find another job. Some are already retired, but they need additional money to support themselves. Some quit a job, have perhaps a nest egg that they can rely on, quit a job and because they want to follow a passion that they've always wanted to do. Starting out, for example, catering lunches for their church and then for their kids' schools, and expanding into a real catering or a larger catering business over time. And today, it helps, of course, and I need to tell you this, that it's easier than ever to start a business. You can do it online. You don't need a storefront or an office necessarily to do it. The kitchen table will serve. You have technology and all the bells and whistles of the internet. That helps you to market and connect customers. You can work in the gig economy, right? I mean, who's to say that an Etsy craftsperson and seller is not an entrepreneur, or even an Uber driver? Who's to say he or she isn't an entrepreneur? Because they cater maybe to a specific clientele. They manage their own hours. They manage their own vehicle. So there are lots of ways to be an entrepreneur at the age in midlife. Let me put it that way. So it's easier, yes, but success isn't any easier to come by because people at midlife face other challenges, different challenges than younger people do when they're starting a business. For sure, they face the same challenges: finance, competition, identifying the right market opportunity, but additional challenges are that many start home-based businesses where it's difficult, if not impossible, to get financing. And if the business fails, they can't go home and sleep on their parents' couch anymore. So that's a failure is a failure. Technology, as much as it helps, can also be an obstacle for people who didn't grow up with a cell phone glued to their ear. And it's not that we don't all email and Skype and use Instagram and Facebook, but using technology in the service of a business is a whole different affair. And getting up to speed can be difficult. There aren't necessarily a lot of places where an older person can do that. Convincing customers that they are up to the task of running a business later in life can sometimes be difficult. I talked to a man who runs a video company, started at the age of 62 or 63, I think, and told me he loses jobs not because he hasn't got the experience and the skills, which he does in spades, but because somehow some of his customers think that younger people can do it better. So they're up against that, and that's a real tough one. They may lack confidence that after 20 or 30 years of working in a corporation, they can do it on their own and be cook and bottle washer for their own company. And there's something we pointed out quite extensively in the report is that there's a lack of networks, a lack of mentors for people starting businesses later in life. We've got dozens of incubators, dozens of accelerators in this city, dozens of networking events for young 20, 30-year-old tech wizards. Not many, except this one, I think, or a couple here, for people starting businesses later in life. So those are the challenges. That's the state of the art. We made a number of recommendations. I'll go through those quickly, and then we'll get to our panelists. We said, among other things, that the city has lots of programs for entrepreneurs, and we believe that they should make one of those or part of those programs focused on midlife entrepreneurs. We suggested they launch an incubator for older entrepreneurs. There's one, I found only one in Israel called Dare to Dream, whose members are in their 60s and 70s and starting companies. we advised, to develop more mentorships and networks for this group of entrepreneurs and help them scale up home-based businesses. And we've, not the city so much, but companies we thought should be helping retirees or persons leaving their companies to develop some entrepreneurial skills and help them enter back into the workforce in a different way. So that's real quick. The gist of the report, there's a lot more in it. I hope if you have a minute you will look at the report online. You have the link. And my contact information is in there if you want to contact me and ask me questions or discuss any part of the report. I'm happy to. So, okay, on to our panel. You've seen the biographies of our panel members. You received them in the information you got for this event, but I will just quickly, 2 sentences on each person. Amanda here on the far side is an event marketing professional. She has a long history in catering, hospitality, and the event business. She is a serial entrepreneur. In other words, she started more than one company, and her current business is Amanda Smith Caterers. Betty, on my left here, is a former financial industries executive. She's today an entrepreneur, author, trainer, speaker, and consultant. In her business, Inspiring Diversity, she counsels organizations on increasing profitability through inclusion, engagement, and performance. She has even given a bug to her 8 and 10-year-old kids who are writing a book. Joyce, over here, has parlayed her knowledge and experience as a private school admissions director into work as a consultant, helping Chinese students apply and be admitted to U.S. colleges and universities. And she's written many books on that and related topics. Some of them are sitting on the table over there. Jim, our sole male, is a former football player with a bachelor's degree in pre-med and business. He has used his experience and knowledge to create the North Jersey Sports Medical Group, which operates sports leadership camps that found themselves without a job, in need of money, or having a passion that they want to pursue. Or they've gotten impatient with corporate life and want to be their own boss. I want to ask each of you how you made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And I'm going to start with Amanda, because you told me you got your idea for entrepreneurship on a trip to Paris.
I was living in Paris.
Uh-huh.
I lived there for 5 years, and I came back to New York, and I realized that there weren't any picnics for the big concerts in the park. And so I decided that would be a great thing to do. I never thought of it as I'm going to start a company and going to be an entrepreneur. I had written a book when I was in Paris, and Florence Fabricant had written about the book. And so I thought, oh, I'll just send her my idea and see what she thinks about it. And she liked it. So from that, I immediately, this was probably a few months before the summer, and I started designing the basket, designing the menus, trying to figure out where I would prepare all of this, and bam, I started.
Football to entrepreneurship, how did that happen?
Okay, so to take you back, thank you everyone for coming out. Share a short story with you on how I got enthralled into the entrepreneurial world. Back in 1987-86, a friend of mine played at the University of Maryland with Boomer Esiason, who played professional sports. We went to high school together. He was a top-rated athlete, recruited to every major Division I college in the country. And we played together. And one day he came home, he said he needed a ride to Giant Stadium for a trial. And I was driving. So I gave him a ride. Now we ran track together, and we were at the Meadowlands, and he was getting ready to run his 40-yard dash. He was the last one. Well, while he ran his 40-yard dash, it's a drill that you run in the NFL to see how fast you can run over 40 yards. I was picking up his sweats, getting ready to take him to him. One of the trainers came up to me and said, "Hey, you're next, get up there and run your 40-yard dash." And I was like, "Who, me?" I did like this. He said, "Well, where's your number?" I said, "Well," he gave me a number, go and run your 40-yard dash. I had nothing to lose. I went up there and ran the 40-yard dash. About 5 trainers clocking us. You want to run that 40-yard dash again? Sure. 6 times I ran the 40-yard dash. A man came out of the locker room. If you've ever been to Meadowlands Stadium, 78,000 seats. He appeared out of the darkness of one of the tunnels and said, "Hey, do you have an agent?" I was like, "No." He slid me his card. He said, "Well, if anyone asks you if you have an agent, I'll be your agent." Okay. Next thing I know, they said, "All the guys who they announced their names, we want you to go over here. If we didn't announce your name, we want you to stand over there. If we call your name, we want to thank you for coming out. We wish you all luck with your football career. There's the gate. Security will escort you." And that's how it is in the NFL, not for long. They didn't call my name. I went to another tryout. All of a sudden, after that tryout, that round of workouts, if we call your name, we want you to go over here. If we don't call your name, we want you to go over here. They called my name. No harm, no foul. It was a tryout. Had nothing to lose. They called my friend's name. Played at the University of Maryland, Division I, big-time football. I played at lowly Division III Uppsala College, 8-man football. All of a sudden, if we called your name, we want you to stay here. We want to offer you a free agent contract. All the other athletes who we didn't call your name, we wish you well in your NFL career. Here's the gate. Me and my friend have been feuding for 20 years behind me playing in the NFL at that point. It was that point that I realized that these guys, they go to college. What is their academic background? The stories you hear about basking weaving and them getting passed through classes is real. After football, they don't have a life beyond sports. That's what drove me to becoming an entrepreneur. I wanted to make sure I went back and not only touched high school students, but 6th graders and beyond to teach them about STEM academic enrichment. We provide at North Jersey Sports to become a global leader in the academic preparation of student athletes so that they may go back in their own communities and they be stewards, heroes, change their lives within the communities they serve. And that's how I got on the entrepreneur track, by doing sports leadership camp, focusing on STEM academic enrichment. So our camps are like, we'll bring the latest in technology out, but we really focus on academic enrichment. And that's how I got started.
Thank you. Inspiring. Betty, I think you told me that you were inspired by your mother, and also I think by being in a position that ultimately got eliminated. Am I right? A corporate position.
Yes.
That was a
Yes.
kind of a push and pull, both for you.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So in November of 2015, I was a senior vice president of corporate development at Moody's, focused on mergers and acquisitions. And I was awarded as a corporate trailblazer for the work that I was doing in diversity and inclusion, because in addition to my day job, I was also the co-chair of the Women's Employee Resource Group, and I had started an Asian Leadership Initiative. And so in the process of writing my acceptance speech for the Corporate Trailblazer Award, I really had to think long and hard about who I am and how I got to where I am. And frankly, all roads led back to my mom, who was widowed at the age of 32 and left with 4 of us to raise on a social worker salary here in New York City's Chinatown. And what she did was she really persevered. She didn't give up. And she persevered for her priorities, her passions, her vision for her authentic self. And she got 2 master's degrees and devoted her life to the community. And I just realized that my mom was my inspiration. And in the process of writing my acceptance speech, I looked at her name, which is Po-Ling, P-O-L-I-N-G. And all these words just jumped out at me from the page. And I realized that my mother's name represents this amazing framework for what it means to propel yourself and others to success. P for persevering for your priorities and passions and your vision for your authentic self. O for others, helping others to succeed. L for leading. I for inspiring. N for networking. And G for grow. And so at that point I became obsessed with actually wanting to write a book with her, which I ultimately did. But it was also in the process of writing the acceptance speech that I realized that I wasn't becoming the person that I was meant to be. I had in fact, back in 2001, when I graduated Harvard Business School, all of us had been asked to write a vision letter to our older selves as to where we would be 10 years after graduation. And my letter was entitled Betty Ing, Successful Social Entrepreneur, someone who was breaking down cultural barriers, bridging gaps, and so forth. But then you know how life goes, right? I got sucked back into corporate. Don't get me wrong, I have no regrets about the path that I took because it ultimately led me here. I had a very exciting career doing M&A, but really globally, had done deals in Asia, Europe, Latin America, Canada, US, whatnot. But I realized that it just wasn't feeding my soul anymore. And the thing with M&A, as you can imagine, and as many of you know, it's cyclical, right? And so my position was eliminated. There was an internal position that I was considering, but then I actually, after thinking about it overnight, told the hiring manager for that position that I'm going to take this opportunity to pursue my passion. And at the time when I made that choice, it was about writing the book with my mother. But then once I made the decision, it was amazing how the world became my oyster and everything became possible.
Joyce, you spent a lot of years in the academic world, private schools, and now are the mover and shaker for Chinese students. Tell us how you got there. Or how you made that transition.
Yeah, well, my first transition from salary to figuring out what am I going to do next was after 4 years of teaching in Connecticut. I got married and moved back to a tiny little place in northern Vermont where I'm from. And I thought, now what am I going to do? There's no schools around here, and if there were, they weren't interested in college admissions, which was what I had been doing a little bit of in Connecticut, because they all knew where they were going to college. They all go within Vermont, either at the state university or at state colleges. So after 3 or 4 years with high school students, I really was concerned that they have no idea how to make a choice about curriculum, about sports, about their time in the summer, winter, and definitely not about colleges. But I started on the career thing first because they just back into what's there. Actually, my first book that I loved that the College Board published, I don't have it right here, is called I Can Be Anything, Careers for Young Women. That was in the late 60s, no, not late, middle 60s. Oh, yeah, here's I Can Be Anything. And that book, I wanted to name I Don't Want to Be a Nurse, Secretary, or Teacher. And the editor, this nice male guy, said, well, Joyce, nobody would buy it. All their mothers are nurse teachers. So I changed it to I Can Be Anything. And so then I kept going along that line, but in careers, I talked to little kids and I said, does your mommy work? Yes. Does your mommy make money? No. Does your daddy work? Yes. Does your daddy make money? Yes. And so I wrote, My Mommy Makes Money. And it's illustrated by a wonderful New Hampshire illustrator, quite funny and cartoonish. And it was for 5 and 6-year-olds. And so then I hadn't I remembered that a lot of my mother's friends were widows at 60 or around then. And it's not that they needed the money, but they needed the life. They needed a life outside the home, in the community. So I did making more money, 55 special job hunting strategies for retirees. And actually, until Betty asked me about this, I'd forgotten about this book because I'm always on to the next book. I don't say, well, which of these are your favorite? Well, the one I'm working on is always my favorite. Because I'm always thinking about the market like you will want to do as entrepreneurs. Everything is to do with market. Instead of going to Paris, like you like to be all the time, for my spring break I said, go somewhere where you don't know one thing about it except how to spell it. Well, China is real easy to spell. So I went to China, but I took an idea with me for the 2 weeks. I wrote a proposal for writing a College Advice USA column in their China Daily newspaper. And that's a credential I needed if I were to go there and work. So they bought that. I went back to my school in Nightingale, then worked a little more, then I sold a book in China, then I quit my job, and then I went to China.
Tell me how you did it, Amanda.
First time around, a loan from a bank. And then the second time around, small business loan, so from the government. So I was sponsored by them, and I was given a business advisor as well. So it was a great opportunity.
How hard was it to get the money?
Very difficult. It takes a long time.
How
The
long
first
did it
time
take?
around, it wasn't as difficult. Just a small amount of money. And also, as I said, I had to move quickly. The second time around, it was more of a longer process. There was a lot more involvement, but perhaps that's because times changed. And people
Right.
understood what it was all about and actually what the risks were and everything else. So, yeah.
Joyce, sounds like you started on your own dime.
I always used advance for a book for transportation to get where I had to go to write the book.
Getting someone else to pay for it, right? In effect.
Always.
In effect.
You know, I've bootstrapped the whole thing, and you know, I guess that's also one of the benefits of having worked in financial services for over 20 years. But you know, also, you know, being the stubborn person that I am, and having done M&A for so many years, and have been on the other side of the table in terms of and seeing what we put, you know, entrepreneurs through. I didn't want to be that entrepreneur. so definitely very, very, you know, stubborn and set on bootstrapping to the extent possible.
Jim, I think, you're the only one of the group that has venture, what I would call venture,
Yes.
some form of venture money. How did that happen?
So I started by writing a grant through Rutgers Medical School, the Division of Adolescents and Young Adult Medicine. It was a national science grant where we dealt with at-risk youth in urban settings. And then I became familiar with OPM, other people's money.
Yeah.
We do seed raises in our company. We partner with teaching institutions. The great thing about partnering with Rutgers is they allow me to maintain my business model with the trade-off of my research model. So partnering with different doctors, Dr. Sarah Dore in particular, neurology and physiology through Veterans Administration, and the NFL.
Transitioning, for those of you who are with larger corporations, from being in a company where you were an employee to being your own boss and to being responsible for whether you lived or died, your company lived or died. Amanda, you worked for some time for a number of different large organizations, large corporations.
Well, not that long, but I did work for Del Monte, which was a multinational company, Del Monte Fresh Produce in Mexico. I was, for a 25-year-old, quite a cushy job, as I had a secretary, I flew everywhere, I didn't have to worry about anything, except it was a very challenging, very interesting job. I mean, I enjoyed myself very much. It's something that I really believed in. Working in Mexico, finding producers, exporting our products to Europe and Japan. And then the transition that I made was first of all, when I left and I went to Paris and I wrote a book, so that was sort of a moment of freedom and doing something that I was very passionate about. And then that transitioned into having my own company. And again, I think I was young. I wasn't the age I am now. When I first made that switch to doing an entrepreneurial, and I really wasn't very aware of what I was doing and how impactful that was and how important that was, that I really had to think about it long term. So unlike you, I never really did that business plan. I took a course on catering after having done my master's.
I have the freedom to stay home and work when I want, but when I want to be with people, or I want to see how they're doing, and of course they're like 50 years younger, I like that too. And so don't think you have to be home alone and can never be with colleagues or get feedback that you would have in the job you're leaving.
Annie, anything you would have done differently?
Well, just as Joyce said, everything is about learning, right? And as an entrepreneur, you really need to be comfortable pivoting, and changing, really changing directions as needed based on the feedback that you're getting. When I first started Inspiring Diversity, we really had a mission that was more focused on individuals. It was about inspiring, empowering, and elevating people of all backgrounds to achieve their goals. And then, realized that wasn't really concrete enough, of a mission statement. And then also realized that if I was going to build a sustainable business, that actually I really needed to be working more with organizations. And so now, Inspiring Diversity provides a practical solution for building inclusive, collaborative, and high-performing organizations. And so, you pivot over time. And so, yes, I probably spent more time in the beginning focused on individuals, but you kind of learn through the process, right? And so, I can't say that I really regret it because, it was just part of the process. In terms of advice, I would say that you need to focus on managing what matters, and don't feel as though you need to do everything yourself. And when you're thinking about your business and everything that you do, you have to be others-centric. When I say others-centric, it's not just about you, it's about others.
Thank you. Jim, wrap this up for us if you will, then we'll go to Q&A. But anything you would have done differently and any advice you might give?
Yes, what I would have done differently, I would have played golf.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I would have played golf. Honestly, for me, my why was established at a very young age. In my football career, my why was these guys, what do they do after football? What do they fall back on? Your body is torn down at 28, 30 years old. Most guys retire at 28, 29. I missed my pension by 1 year because I lost desire to play football. What I would have done differently? Yeah, I probably would have played golf. I'm serious about that. But what knowledge I can impart on you and when I talk to people about becoming an entrepreneur is your why. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Because the nights when you want to cry, when the creditors or they haven't paid you your invoice and you owe people money and you have to go to court because your rent is due and you're getting evicted, you have to know what your why is. When your car is impounded and you can't get it out, when all your friends won't lend you money anymore because you haven't paid them back when you said you were going to pay them back. But you have this passion for your business that it will turn around. My advice is get with a mentor. Just like I mentor young men and young women, get with a mentor. Learn through their experiences, learn through their hardships. Right now, I have a great mentor system, and I still call them to this day. Hey, I need to raise $1.5 million. Can you help me out? Yeah, I can tell you what you can do. The pitfalls, the strengths and weaknesses, what not to do. Your business plan, you have to live by it. And it has to be interchangeable. Because in the world of entrepreneurs, a great business plan today is based on the market. It can be gone tomorrow.
We have time for a few questions. Yes, please.
My question is for Amanda. You said something so interesting about if you're not growing fast enough and someone's growing faster than you, and how you put that to the side and see what you can do right now. Okay, do you have a specific real-life example for us?
Well, I was speaking more that if you're producing something, like you're making a certain item or a certain service and it's not really the time for that, then you sort of have to put it aside and sort of have a plan B or plan C or plan D in order to keep the business going. But in terms of just other companies, that happened to me a lot because I never really ended up having that plan or that backing in order to grow as quickly as I could have or I should have. And therefore I did see other companies that were having more success. And usually it's if you have a bigger bank account. Like if you have more money behind you, it's easier in the service industry, it's easier to move ahead because then you can hire the right people, you can get more sales people out, you can do a lot more in a faster way, and then exponentially you grow in that way. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, and the other question I had is, what book did you write?
Oh, it's called Paris in a Basket. It's a book about the open-air food markets of Paris. So it's a sociological study of the city through food. I'm passionate about food, so that's
How do you find good mentors who can help you think through some of these more difficult problems?
So, I actually have mentors, advocates, allies, from all different backgrounds, but I guess I'll mention two that really stick out to me. I have mentored through SCORE. I don't know if you guys have heard about that, which is actually sponsored by the government. You can have, a pretty seasoned mentor, and it's free. And actually, my mentor tells me all the stuff that I don't want to hear, but I need to hear, quite frankly. And he's been great. And I know that perhaps some people have had mixed experiences, but I've had an amazing experience.
Often retired execs
Yeah.
work for SCORE, and
Right.
you can find them online.
Yeah. So that's one. But then also, through my alumni groups, I've been able to, I actually have different circles, entrepreneur circles that I belong to. So it's not as lonely. And actually, because they're my my mentors and my allies who have no skin in the game, they actually really do give me the honest truth, even if it hurts to hear. And then also, it is a lonely journey sometimes, but I actually haven't really felt too lonely myself because also, just friends who may not be entrepreneurs per se can really actually provide you with a lot of great ideas and also potential great connections that can help your business.
I have a comment for that. I think now you really have many more outlets. I mean, like you can find groups through Facebook, through different things.